Well, welcome into the beautiful U.S. Virgin Islands, and it's paradise, and it's the Pac-12's Washington State Cougars against the Big East number 22 Creighton Bluejays. Good evening, everybody, here from the Virgin Islands. Trevor Williams with you, and alongside me, the coach, Kevin Lehman. Coach, this has been a really fun tournament so far. We said it could go chalk, but if there's going to be an upset, it's up to the Cougars now.
That's all that's left. What a great number 2 game we had with Ole Miss in overtime over Oral Roberts, and then the Battle of the Jesuits in game number 1. St. Joseph's overcoming Loyola. It's been an exciting day, but we've got one big one left, Trevor.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Let's take a look at that tournament bracket. As we said, for Washington State coming in tonight against the number 22 team, but earlier today you mentioned in the Battle of the Jesuits it was close for a while. St. Joe's got the win. Ole Miss, what a performance put on in that ball game by the Rebels, and then NC State picking up the victory. What sticks out in your mind so far from the first three?
Well, Burnett with Ole Miss, 41 points, a tournament record, knocked in 3-ball after 3-ball, and St. Joe's with some really strong guard play. NC State short-handed, only went 7-man rotation. They switched that zone the second half. Montana could not get inside and penetrate. Made a little run at the end. So the Wolfpack waiting to see who wins this game against Washington State and Creighton.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to watch. Let's look forward now at the schedules on the season. And we're going to begin first with the Cougars. They are 2-0 so far on the year, but they haven't played a whole lot, and they came very close to a scare in their last outing against Division II Central Washington.
Well, they're still counts as a W, and it's a learning experience. As these coaches have talked about, this tournament is so good at building camaraderie amongst your team and trying to develop a team identity. And then you look at, after this game, against Creighton, they have a chance to advance and play NC State if they can win this one.
Exactly. Now we'll flip over, take a look at the Creighton Bluejays, and they're coming off a game the head coach Greg McDermott called maybe one of his best at Creighton, a win against number 9 Wisconsin, and that was huge there in Omaha.
I'm not sure that Creighton needed to fly down there after that win because they were on top of the world, but a great performance as Wisconsin came in number 9 in that Gavitt games. CenturyLink in Omaha was rocking, and great performances by some of these Creighton players.
Let's take a look at a couple of the guys to watch. We'll start first with Washington State. They got a double-double machine, and that's Josh Hawkinson.
Well, Josh Hawkins, outstanding junior year, but he's come back even stronger this year. He's closing in on 1,000 rebounds for Washington State. He is no stranger to the Paradise Jam, as his father runs this and has been here since 5th grade.
And now for Creighton, Maurice Watson Jr. He needs almost no introduction. He is a preseason All-Big East selection.
Well, Greg McDermott told me about Maurice Watson Jr. when he came from Boston College and sat out there. He says, I have a special player that's going to put us over the hump. He is on the Wooden preseason top 50 watch list. Preseason All-Big East first team. He makes this team go.
And now the coaches starting first with Washington State. Their head man is Ernie Kent in his 3rd season with the Cougs, 22nd career. Can't see him there. He's in the middle of his huddle right now coaching his guys up, but he has been to 6 NCAA tournaments and 2 Elite 8s. And then on the other side of things for Creighton, this is a guy who actually, in a roundabout way, got his job because of Ernie Kent. Greg McDermott took over for Dana Altman. Of course, Altman took over Kent's position at Oregon. And there is Greg McDermott, his 7th year at Creighton, just a fantastic head coach.
Well, also, I got a chance to coach Greg McDermott when I was assistant at Northern Iowa. I have a long experience with him. And his other assistant, Darren DeVries, also I recruited and played for me at Northern Iowa. So I kind of know a little bit what they're going to do here tonight.
We know a little bit about what both teams are going to do. We traded in some time on the beach yesterday to hang out at practice, and this thing could be a track meet tonight. These are two teams that really like to run the floor, and both have said there's going to be no style change tonight against each other.
Well, that's what Ernie Kent told us. You know, we thought he might try to slow down the pace of Creighton because they really want to get out with their team speed. But he says, no, that's our identity also. We're not going to change the way we play. So I look for a high-scoring affair.
Let's see the starters here for tonight's game between Creighton and Washington State. The Cougars will look like this. They're going to go with Darian King and Ike Arebu along with Malachi Flynn as the guards. Flynn, of course, a true freshman running point. Then Josh Hawkinson and Connor Clifford will get the look. Marcus Foster, Kyrie Thomas, Maurice Watson Jr., who we just talked about, will be the guards for Creighton. They'll go with a forward in Cole Huff and a center in Justin Patton. It'll be Patton against Hawkinson for the opening tip. And these are two guys that are both on the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar watch list.
And Patton, just a redshirt freshman, played for a former player of mine, Jared Anderson, at Omaha North. But this is going to be the experienced Josh Hawkinson against the freshman, Justin Patton.
And the Blue Jays win that opening tip. They'll be in white. Washington State in crimson. And Watson Jr. right away starts it off with Marcus Foster. And Creighton will work it around the perimeter. This is a great team coming off that big win against Wisconsin. And right away they drill a three. That's Cole Huff.
And Cole Huff has played here in this Paradise Jam before as a member of the Nevada team 2 years ago. He's used to the beach in the sun.
Washington State will have to answer right away. Creighton off to a great start. A great three-point shooting team on this season as well. Clifford trying to go to work on Patton, and he's got a nice hook. Such soft hands.
And no double team on Clifford inside. We saw Ernie Kent work on how to beat the double team because that's what the Blue Jays did to Wisconsin's postman.
And Watson Jr. all alone, and just a little short. Hawkinson gets the rebound, bouncing free. Now King quickly going to pop a two. A little too strong. Patton already a couple good boards.
Oh, great outlet by Josh Hawkinson on that.
And trying to get a block, but Watson Jr. just a step quicker.
Well, that's what Watson does. He is small. He's like he's playing on skates. He can glide right through the defense and score against bigger people.
Josh Hawkinson, a lot of stuff going to go through him. From Shoreline, the senior, returning here to the island, and he goes off glass for a pair.
Well, that was a great slip screen move by Josh Hawkinson. The defender steps out the hedge. He has soft hands and an excellent touch off the window.
What's the over-under on this game in your mind here, Kevin? This is another bucket. Count it. Patton won athletic play. These two teams, they could combine for a lot of points here in this one.
Well, no question. It's going to be a track meet. Now this is
what's the
over-under on screen, and watch Patton just dive for the front of the rim, and Watson just heaves it up.
This is another
big
bucket.
man, big
Count it.
finish.
Patton the chance for a three-point play. The redshirt freshman from Omaha. And he's off the back end of the iron. Missed that three-point play opportunity. Highly touted five-star recruit out of high school.
Well, if you talk to the Creighton staff, they are concerned, not concerned, but they kind of project that they're not going to have him for 4 years. Justin Patton gets a lot of looks by NBA scouts.
The guy the Cougars keen on with it at the point right now, Malachi Flynn, the true freshman. First true freshman to run point since Ika Rebu did it for the Cougars. He's only got 5 to shoot. Now he's defended by Patton, has to go to King. King doesn't see the shot clock, that's a violation. And that brings this home crowd, we might as well call it, for Creighton to its feet.
Now, there's a lot of blue in the stands. It's one of the biggest contingencies of fans to come to the Paradise Jam. There's been blue all over the hotel, all over the beaches, and now in the University of Virgin Islands Sports and Fitness Center.
The officials tonight, Matt Potter, Alvin Cox, and Drake Ebsel, and another three, and again it's Huff.
Well, he said Huff has played on this court before 2 years ago, wearing a different jersey for Nevada, and he is right in his rhythm.
And that's Darian King caught up. He's going to travel, and this is something Creighton did so well against Wisconsin. They forced 5 turnovers in that game's opening minutes. And Maurice Watson Jr. get to work it up into the front court. Greg McDermott gives him a couple commands. 421 and 267, the career record for McDermott. He's got the best winning record of a Creighton coach in their first 6 seasons. Clifford challenging, but Huff finishing, and 8 points early for Huff.
How about Huff? He's in the groove.
Washington State trying to find an answer. Creighton starting to roll right now, up by 8. Clifford's going to go back to work. Active hands almost taken away from the Cougs. Now King throws it free. Foster's on the dribble to the rack, and he can't get it. Now the Cougars, they'll race the other direction. They got a man advantage for the moment. Hawkinson, a little room, a little strong. Clifford pulls down a board, going up. And again, off the mark, Cougars got to be finishing those. They're going to have a chance.
Well, Connor Clifford looked like he's trying to draw some contact. It didn't appear, and he misfired point blank.
And now it's knocked out of bounds by Ike Arebu. Creighton will hold. Washington State will make a sub. Charles Callison for Darian King. Callison will work as an off guard. These teams, they work at this pace tonight. They're going to need a lot of subs.
And we watched the Cougars defend this OB play. That is not the shot that Greg McDermott wants. In fact, he's going to the bench. Patton's going to take a seat.
7-footer, never good when he's shooting from that far out, especially with the shooting guards that Creighton has. Shooting in a clip of 44% from three, and it's Connor Clifford trying to get a three-point play. And it looks early like Ernie Kent really wants to key in on Clifford.
Well, you got to attack the big man, especially if he's a shot blocker. And now we see Zach Hansen in for the freshman Justin Patton, and I would imagine Coach McDermott's going to have a few words for his big man.
And this is quite a big trade. You go senior for the freshman, the Pierre South Dakota native at 6'9", but a great shooter a season ago, 65.5%. And Clifford knows all about that, shooting the free throw here for Washington State. He ranked second in the Cougars single-season record book. He hit 64% of his shots last year, and he caps a three-point play right there.
Well, Hansen has been really effective for the Blue Jays. He came in that game against Wisconsin, 7 points in 11 minutes.
And Huff rises up, trying to add to his early 8. Arebu pulls down a board. He's a guard that can do that. Very athletic, but he gets poked from behind. Now it's numbers for Creighton. Could finish with a slam, and it does for the Blue Jays. And the Cougars right away want to roll with it. You're going to see that all night long after makes.
Well, they've got to value the ball because Creighton is poking it loose and getting some easy runouts. It's good to play fast, but you cannot turn it over.
Arebu's going to try to go up and under. Now he kicks instead. Callison's all alone on the wing. Trey's no good. Pulled down by Zierden. Checked in along with Hansen when Creighton made its first change to the bench. Patton able to get Thomas. Steps inside. Mid-range jumper won't go. The Cougars will cruise with Flynn. Finding Clifford. Rolling through. Nice move by the big man, and he finishes.
You can see what Ernie's going to do. They're going to slip those posts, come out, ball screen, slide him to the front of the rim. They've got some easy baskets.
Well, Clifford's got 7 early for the Cougars, but it's the Blue Jays by 5. We'll take a break here on Flow Hoops, come back with more of the final game of day 1 of the Paradise Jam after this, here from the U.S. Virgin Islands at St. Thomas. Back here in St. Thomas, look at those Creighton fans, and you know it's a big deal when they chartered a 174-seat plane. It had every seat filled. That's because there were fans on that plane with the team.
Well, they had a little trouble getting down here, too, with that charter plane. But you think about Creighton and the CenturyLink, they are 10th of the nation last year in attendance with 15,000 plus. They would have been more, 17,000, except they lost some attendance in their 2 NIT games. But great following in Omaha for the Jays.
Washington State, it's what they're hoping to get in Pullman. Ernie Kent's talked about it. 14-9, the Blue Jay lead out of the first media timeout. And we talked about right now, points off turnovers as Viante Daniels going to give one up for the Cougars on a travel on the perimeter.
Well, if you look at what they call the lower box stats, that's off turnovers. Creighton with 7-0 for the Cougars. Fast break points, the Jays 4-0.
And Washington State, a team that had been highly touted, only had given up 2 fast break points all season coming in, and it's a 3 canned by Marcus Foster.
Well, there's a misdirection play that McDermott called after that timeout. Take it back to the strong side, and Watson back to Foster on the weak side.
Hawkinson sets his high pick. Open off the roll from the baseline. Jumper rattles out. And Foster lost the handle on it. As a byproduct, you might see that just from time to time with the pace.
You can see the disgust there on Greg McDermott's face because you just do not like to turn the ball over. In that situation there, he's having a little discussion with the official. But if you're watching Washington State now, they're getting back. They're sitting almost 5 back in transition, 4.5, what I would call it, trying to get their defense set. The problem has been the live ball turnovers. Creighton has built up the lead because of that.
Flynn hits Hawk at the top, gonna try a three. He can shoot there, but misses that try. Watson Jr. and the Blue Jays trying to add to an 8-point advantage. Nice passing to Zierden on the cut. That's a beautiful pass dialed up by Watson.
And Zierden started 31 of 31 games last year. He's coming off the bench, so that is a young man that understands. Him and Watson are on the same page.
And Zierden triggers a three, and now he's got 5 just like that. Zierden gets involved. Watson got him started, and on the great assist as well, adding 2 already, his nation's active leading total. And Flynn can't connect on his three-point try. Here come the Jays again with tempo.
As Zierden with the knee brace on, he had off-season surgery. This is a deep bench for the Blue Jays.
And now Hagner pops a three, and a timeout called by Ernie Kent. And Washington State is feeling the wrath of the three-point shooting for Creighton. They've been so good coming in, over 43%, and they just keep making them.
They do it a number of ways. This is just a pick and pop move as Wagner steps back. The big man, he is a stretch 4. Ripples the net.
And what do? 5 for 5 from beyond the arc for Creighton to start it off. And Ernie Kent and his Cougs 0 for 4, and they're down 14 in just the first 6 minutes and change of this one.
Well, you got to have better communication on the perimeter. You got to come out and make those perimeter players bounce before they shoot, because those 5 they've hit, Trev, they've been easy looks, step-in threes, uncontested.
Washington State trying to find an answer. Creighton, and with head coach Doug McDermott, they've done great against the Pac-12, 11-9 against Pac-12 teams. Washington State, on the other hand, has really struggled against top 25s, but ironically, their only win over a top 25 under Ernie Kent came against UCLA last season, their only conference win. You know more than anyone, Kevin, just rebuilding a program so difficult, and Ernie Kent right in the midst of that at Washington State.
Well, you need some marquee wins to build confidence in your players and your fan base.
And the foul's going to be on the floor. It'll be against Davion Mintz, and he's a new check-in. Freshman from Charlotte, North Carolina. First team All-State North Carolina his senior year of high school. Arebu probably going to get involved on the dribble, likes to drive and kick. Robert Franks, a young sophomore for Washington State's also checked in, and he has one tipped out of play.
Well, that time there was a double on the post on Josh Hawkinson, and the dive by Franks, just what Ernie Kent worked on yesterday in practice.
Cougars now inbound. And they have to go up top to King. King was red hot his first night of the year, scored 22, but then he went cold in game 2. And he's kind of an up and down guard for the Cougars. Pass just gets around to Carlson, misses with the shot clock under 10. Not going to see a lot of times the shot clock falls below 10 tonight. Into the corner, could it be 6 of 6? No, Creighton misses its first triple. That was Foster trying. Now Arebu trying to create, and he's hit as he goes up, and he'll be shooting 2.
Well, one of the things that can happen, Trevor, if you misfire on those threes, that long rebound can lead to a fast break opportunity. That time the Cougars able to get out with a little advantage 3-on-2, a chance to get to the free throw line.
Davion Mintz right away gets called for his second foul, and Washington State with his check-in of Robert Franks right now, a guy who could try to make a difference. The first free throw missed by Arebu.
Now, Ernie Kent with no one on the free throw line other than the shooter. He's got his other 4 players back, get the defense set. Wants to make Creighton play against all 5.
It'd be miraculous if Arebu found a way to board this. He'll hope he just makes it instead. Cougars send Hawkinson to the bench. He'll get a breather. Flynn waiting to check in for Washington State, and Arebu's second is good. The senior from Sacramento with his first point of the night. Creighton's going to be able to use a couple different rotations, and they found some that they liked in that Wisconsin game. Really gave the Badgers trouble. On the dribble, a foul called up at point. That'll take us to a timeout as well here at the Sports Center in the U.S. Virgin Islands at the University of the Virgin Islands. It's Creighton by 13, and they're flexing their muscles early. 5 of 6 from 3. We'll be back with more on Flow Hoops after this. Trevor Williams, Kevin Lehman back here at the University of the Virgin Islands. And Kevin, early on, Ernie Kent went to Connor Clifford. You see on the right side of your screen, the Cougars wanted to play two bigs, but it's hard to tell if they're going to be able to keep that up.
Well, Connor Clifford with 7 points, got off to a good start, and they went to him early and often. But because of the three-point shooting of Creighton, the ability to spread you out, can you play with two bigs? Ernie talked yesterday about going to a 4-guard lineup throughout this game.
Washington State going with some bigs right now. Clifford's back in. Franks, a stretch 4, is also down low, but it's picked to Huff. Franks left him open, but luckily Huff misses.
Good block out by Clifford.
And Huff gets a paw in the lane of the pass intended for Franks. Cougars will have to keep it on the end line. Creighton, they're so long and athletic too.
Well, they've got a deep bench. They're going to keep running fresh bodies.
And Gray McDermott talked about he loves his bench as well. A travel as Franks tries to go to the hole, but to finish that thought, some of those first guys he brings off the bench, guys that used to be starters on this team before they moved to the Big East.
That is a great point, because I talked to Greg McDermott about that, and he said his seniors are guys left over from when they were in the Missouri Valley. They've really upgraded their recruiting joining the Big East, because you got to go against Villanova in that league, Seton Hall, Xavier. There are some power teams.
As there's a foul called against Creighton underneath, they're trying to create space. They want to get a little fancy there. They're lobbing to the post and trying to create some position down there. Maurice Watson Jr. is called for the foul. Surprised to see the guard down there mixing up and getting whistled for the foul.
Well, Foster is a physical player. They've used him in the mid-post range. Powerful upper body.
King feeding Clifford. Has 7 early for the Cougars. Going to go to King, who was cutting. Step back, fade away, too shy, off the end of the iron. Now Foster quickly, all the way baseline. Hawkinson gets a swat off the glass. Now Arebu, going to try the same move on the Cougars' end. Almost had success, but it rolls out. Back and forth they go. Oh, and a try for an alley-oop, and Foster just couldn't connect, but there he was right on cue.
Well, the guy in the shot clock doesn't have to worry about this thing running down.
Hawkinson pulls the trigger in the lane from about 6 feet and gets 2, and that's Hawkinson's second bucket, has 4 points.
Well, you can see his skill set. Josh Hawkinson catch that one at the mid-post, a little jump hook, soft touch, soft hands.
Now just 27 points shy of 1,000 on his Cougar career.
Now, has this shot clock gotten below 10 yet in this game?
I think one time we saw the Cougars there. Now we'll see Creighton for the first time. 8 to shoot. Kent likes the defense. It's swung over near side with Kyrie Thomas. He's going to drive. Big bodies in the lane. Only 2 to shoot, and Patton travels.
And there's, when you talk about transition defense, if you put the ball through the net, as Josh Hawkinson scored it last time, you go down and get your defense set. Missed shots, loose ball turnovers. It's hard to get your defense back and stop a transition team like Creighton. So you got to make baskets.
Hawkinson going down to Arebu, and it is off of Creighton. Washington State will keep it. Well, that was very close.
This is a good battle with Arebu and Marcus Foster, 2 physical guards. And Arebu trying to post up in the mid-range.
We've seen a lot of athletic guards today in this Paradise Jam. This has been a really loaded and very exciting field for the fans.
Well, I think it's one of the strongest fields they've had here in a number of years. Oh, you've got North Carolina State out of the ACC. You got Ole Miss out of the SEC, and a very good Montana team. And how about Oral Roberts playing well?
And Watson Jr. up and under, and he's got a great finish, his 4th.
He has a hesitation move where he'll stand you up and then explode.
And King's got a foot on the line, and he can't make. Also interesting right now for Creighton, their 3 17-point-per-game scores have only combined for 7. Make it 10 with Watson canning a 3, and Ernie Kent has got to put another stop to it.
Well, Maurice Watson Jr. is the heart and soul of this team, and he's getting her going. Boy, you got to meet him at the point of attack. You got to get him stopped before he gets to the 3-point line. This has turned into a rhythm shot. for Maurice Watson Jr.
And that was a true freshman, Malachi Flynn, that was going to have to be there to meet him. That's so tough right now for Ernie Kent because Flynn at times will make the great play, but at times, you remember, he's still a freshman.
Well, he's a good-looking guard. 6 foot, 170 pounds. He looks like he has an excellent feel for the game. And for Ernie to trust him at that point guard position and move Ike Rebu to the off guard tells you a lot about what they think of that young man.
If there's Watson Jr., he's gotten hot now, has 7 points for Creighton. Showed Greg McDermott during that timeout as well. Took over for Dana Altman. And Kevin, I think one story I love of that coaching change is it did not take Creighton long to pull the trigger on who their new head man was going to be after they knew Altman was gone.
Well, it happened within 24 hours. And also the other side story of that was Doug McDermott, who's now playing for the Bulls, Greg's son, had already signed with Northern Iowa. Ben Jacobson, his godfather, and Northern Iowa released Doug McDermott to go play for his father at Creighton.
It was a fantastic deal, and those two, of course, they put together a little run there with the Blue Jays.
Well, there's still some people upset at Northern Iowa about that release.
And now it's Hansen finishing for Creighton. His first bucket averages 9 a game, and don't sleep on him. He was South Dakota's Gatorade Player of the Year as a senior.
Oh, Hansen, high basketball IQ.
And Callison, a nice move to dip under the rim.
Now, Callison, I like that strong upper body. And now we see
Huff trying to drive, and he's fouled. And Washington State, for the most part, they've just had a lot of trouble keeping up with the physicality, it seems, of Creighton.
Well, I like the way Huff has started this game. He's kind of a guy who played around the edge, likes the jump shot, but he hit those first triples, and now he's put himself in attack mode and tried to attack the basket back at the free throw line.
Talked about Huff, another one of the guys in this Creighton team that came off surgery 3 days after the season ended last year. He was under the knife, and his first free throw kisses a lot of rim and is good.
And you know Huff can score in buckets because he had 35 against Seton Hall.
Was all Mountain West honorable mention at Nevada. Talked about him being here for the second time, and he hits both free throws. Now has 10. He's the first into double digits on either side tonight.
Now in the lineup for Creighton is number 24, Hobie Paris. This young man is from the Philippines. He's quite a star in the Philippines. His father is an actor. Has a huge Twitter following.
I've heard Instagram too, something like 40,000. Callison, a step back two, won't get it. I love that. I think there's some teammates on the team that are a little jealous of his Instagram and Twitter following. And driving all the way to the hole and finishing is Tyler Clement, and that gets the crowd fired up too. Clement, not a guy who's played a ton yet for Creighton. And Clifford trying to get back to work in the post, and he's got another nice move down to the baseline. Another guy of those three, Arebu, Hawkinson, and Clifford, who tested the draft waters for the Cougars.
Well, here's what Creighton's doing. They're doubling Josh Hawkinson in the post, but they're going single on Connor Clifford. Clifford's been able to score.
And stepping on the line is Zierden trying to get in position for a three. That'll take us to a timeout here in St. Thomas. It's warm outside, cool inside, and a ton of Creighton fans very happy right now. They've got the Cougars doubled up. We'll be back with more Paradise Jam action after this here on Flow Hoops. Thoughts would be the Blue Jays are going to move up. Let's take a look at the tournament bracket from today. 3 games already done, this being the 4th. There were some great ones today, Kevin.
Well, the battle of the Jesuits, St. Joseph and Loyola. Kimball and Newkirk combined for 46, the backcourt for St. Joseph's. And then what a great game that was, overtime, as Ole Miss overcomes a valiant effort by Oral Roberts. But Burnett with 41 points for Ole Miss.
Well, how about that? A tournament record, in fact, on the men's side. And Hawkinson a deep 2. Able to finish that off. Now has 6.
That was good set play. Ernie Kent coming out of that timeout. Hawkinson flashed that high post.
This will be about the time the Cougars need to put a run on. It's got to start defensively now.
Well, they're in a matchup zone now, the Cougars, and it's paid some dividends, creating a turnover.
That's something they needed too. Paris has trouble handling it. And Creighton going to move back to Maurice Watson Jr. No surprise to bring back the fifth-year senior.
Well, McDermott has seen all he wants against that zone, so he brings his leader back in to run the offense.
Cougars have Callison running the point. He's done this in the past. Right now, the best point guard they got on the floor with Hawkinson popping deep two, and he gets some love off the back of the iron.
Gets the clubhouse roll.
8 points for Hawkinson. Now one off of Clifford and a finish down low by Hansen.
Well, Hansen with early footwork. Got his feet in the paint, got position, just buries defender underneath the rim.
And an off-ball foul called against the Blue Jays. Another thing to note, Washington State has brought in KJ Langston, a redshirt sophomore. The foul against Creighton. Toby Hegner picked it up, his first personal. And Patton coming back on for the Blue Jays as well. They're going to bring in some size against Clifford.
McDermott has rotated players. He's gone 10 deep already in this game.
Not afraid to go to that very deep bench. Daniels triggers from the corner pocket. No good. Callison battling for a rebound. That's a little guard. And then Clifford with a finish through the lane. Clifford's got 11 in the first half. But Creighton again wide open for three, and again it's Foster, his second triple of the night.
Excellent ball movement by the Blue Jays. They start on the left side, bring it back to the second side. And you've got Foster in the deep corner.
Callison going to go back to Daniels, and Daniels travels. And this is a point of emphasis this season, Kevin, on the perimeter. They're really watching those feet.
Well, not only in the perimeter, but in the post. And we talked about the directives from the J.D. Collins, the head of NCAA officiating, because they're protecting the offensive player more. He's also going to take away their ability to shuffle the feet, so more emphasis on calling travelings in the post and on the perimeter.
Yeah, something about protecting those offensive players, the new cylinder rule. We haven't actually seen it called a lot today in the first day of this tournament.
But we've certainly seen higher scoring games because over 30 rule changes before last season. It's led to over 5.5 points per game increase per team, and it's been increased field goal percentage, increased three-point percentage, and it's not been the march to the free throw line like we thought it would be. More possessions per game. It's having the desired effect.
And Ernie Kent and Greg McDermott, they're coaches that, of course, love the increased offense. Phil Martelli, Ernie Kent, they're also both on that NABC board, and they're looking for the transfer rules to change as well. Something we've seen a ton of in this tournament with transfers making a difference.
Well, the graduate transfer rule is the one that you hear the most complaints about because they are not figured in your APR of your school's graduation rate. And it's almost like, hey, I don't want to redshirt a guy, especially if I'm a mid-major, because somebody's going to take him his fifth year.
Yeah, the Cougars are filled with a ton of those. Here's one of them, Clifford, and he's fouled trying to hang a hook. And he's been a couple places. Saddleback after playing at UC Irvine. And the big man, he's big, but he played with an even bigger guy at UC Irvine. That was Mamadou Njai. He was 7'6".
Could dunk it on his tiptoes.
On his tiptoes, I don't know. That's got to build you up as a post guy playing against him in practice every day.
And we talk about the graduate transfer rule, too. Josh Hawkinson has graduated. He is eligible and could have left the Cougars, but he said, hey, no, Dad. I talked to his dad about this. He said, I've been here for 3 years. I've had the same roommate. I'm not going to abandon my team. So you got to really like the loyalty.
He also had the Paradise Jam on the docket, and I don't think you want to miss that.
Well, we had that nice story from him in the lobby where he's talked about, and he was 5 or 6 years old starting here, and his dad paying him $100 for both the men's and the women's tournament. And what did he say it came out to?
About less than $1 an hour.
Less than $1 an hour.
I think he had enough fun anyways. Foster working baseline. He's doubled up. Kicks to Watson Jr. Shot clock getting low for Creighton standards tonight. Patton 10 to shoot. Kicks to Foster, a shot fake. Fade away. Got it.
Well, that is great defense by the Cougars, but better offense by Foster.
That's just a very dirty shot. He came from Kansas State, one of those transfers we've talked about. and had to redshirt last season. They were excited to get him in the lineup, and Flynn's going to try a three, and he comes up way short.
Well, Greg McDermott knew he had to get more physical, especially in the backcourt, to play against in the Big East.
And Huff misses on a three. Creighton already trying to put some daggers in the first half, and Arebu will go coast to coast, and Greg McDermott will take a timeout, and he is hot about the defense. He's talking to his freshman Patton.
Well, he's got that 16-point lead, and he has still coached them up. Arebu going coast to coast. We talk about stopping the ball at the point of attack. Blue Jays.
Ernie Kent needs a little run. Creighton, they're going to talk about as well. We'll take a break, come back with more of the U.S. Virgin Islands Paradise Jam. It's the Blue Jays by 16 here in the nightcap on Flow Hoops. Well, Ernie Kent is not a happy camper right now. His Cougars down by 16, and I don't think anybody would be happy with these numbers, Kevin. You look at the percentages for Creighton from the field and from three. They're off the charts, and Washington State, they haven't even hit a triple yet in this contest.
Well, and Creighton with 11 assists on 17 field goals, 7 of 10 from the arc. They have been red hot from out there. Washington State 0 for 4. They have misfired some open threes. They've got to knock those down.
And Ernie Kent talked about it. This was a team that had to do well in transition against Creighton, and it doesn't seem like they have had that yet tonight either.
Well, fast break points by Creighton, 11 to just 2 for Washington State. But Washington State has not turned the ball over, just 7 times. But still, the speed of the Blue Jays has been a problem for Washington State.
Yeah, Creighton actually has one more turnover than the Cougars at 8, but you would expect those numbers to get pretty high tonight, the clip both of these teams are playing at. The Blue Jays just trying to finish this first half on a similar run and get it to the locker room with a nice sizable advantage.
And Washington State back in that matchup zone.
And again, the Cougars leave a man open. Again, it was Clifford late to cover, and one more time, Cole Huff cans a triple.
Well, Maurice Watson got in the gaps of the zone and collapsed the back line, gave Huff an easy 3 out of the corner.
And you warned about this in the car ride last night back from practice, that the Cougars, they needed to not be going to triples when Creighton was having success. Seems like after a big triple, they go to this guy, Clifford.
Well, again, the Blue Jays are not going to double team Clifford. He's been successful. And there is another 3 ball by Creighton. Find him in transition. Get out there on that 3-point line.
This is an apt observation by the PA announcer in here, too. After he called Huff's name, he said, he's hot. He's on fire for Creighton by 20. Hawkinson's feeding Clifford. Clifford, why not another hook? And he's got 16 already. He's got to be getting close to the career numbers.
But the problem is, Washington State's trading 2s for 3s.
Can't do that, but Clifford's feeling pretty good about his post play with plenty of scouts in attendance too. And now the great step through by Kyrie Thomas.
Well, Kyrie Thomas, great NIT tournament last year, built up his confidence, and he's carried it over into this season.
Just a phenomenal player. Callison trying to drive on the fake. Now he's caught up. Cougars resetting with 12 to shoot. Flynn almost lost it on the dribble. Does keep it alive to Arebu. Gives Clifford on the right block, and he wanted a 3-point play. Can't finish it. He'll have a chance at a pair. Washington State, they are really working the redshirt senior transfer from Huntington Beach.
Callison getting some dribble penetration in the gaps there and get the defender to help up. Clifford, the beneficiary then of that little dish, chance to knock in 2 from the free throw line.
Clifford getting his first of the free throws, brings him to 17 points. His career high is 28, and he had 15 earlier this year against Montana State.
When you talked about how he's got himself in better shape physically, from last season to this season, Connor Clifford, the 7-footer.
51-32 the score. And just over 2 minutes left to go. Has been an amazing transformation for Clifford. Close to 40 pounds lost since he got to Washington State. But it's the three-point show, and it's raining in the Virgin Islands, but the Blue Jay fans are all right with it. And now a takeaway, and here they go in transition. Foster wants to finish one more time. Around Flynn, losing his balance, and he still gets the bucket.
That's going to make somebody's highlight reel.
Oh, my goodness. Off balance all kind of ways. Still threw it off the glass for two. And now Clifford's doubled up, and they're going to say he's pushed. And this breakaway for Creighton was just tremendous.
Well, Marcus Foster, the transfer from Kansas State. There's keeping your eye on the prize. A little kiss off the window, goes down hard. Takes the 2 points.
And he's just a redshirt junior. They got another year with him. The foul was against Kohlhoff, his first, and the free throw good by Clifford. Bring his total to 18 now. And again, Washington State still nobody there on the free throw line. This is a Creighton team that had success last year as well. They're building off of it, a 20-15 season that saw them get to the quarterfinals of the NIT.
And a team that's picked third in a very powerful Big East. We know Nova with the national championship come out of that league.
That was a team that overshadowed our first winner on the day, St. Joseph's, last year in the city of Philadelphia.
And there's three teams out of the Big East ranked. Xavier in the rankings along with Nova and Creighton.
And Flynn moving a little faster than his mind on that play. Feet kept going, ball stayed in place. That's a freshman that Ernie Kent's talked about. He has to trade some of those turnovers because he is a very good freshman. Not a guy the Cougars could have afforded to sit out this season. Huff, another three, almost got some friendly roll. And that's a telegraph pass by Hawkinson, taken away by Clement, and he'll finish with the left hand. From Shawnee, Kansas, a career reserve point guard making the Blue Jays proud.
He's giving him a big lift for the Blue Jays. Tyler Clement off the bench.
Had Clifford in some pressure, and Clifford just puts his head down, and then look at him sprint to the other end of the floor.
He's trying to catch Patton, but Clifford has been exceptional at the offensive end.
21 first half points for Clifford, and Thomas throws up an air ball. Clifford's going to need an oxygen tank at the break in the locker room. He has really hung in this one.
Well, 21 points. He's 8 for 10 from the field, along with 5 free throws. 21 points in 19 minutes of play.
Problem is the Cougar defense is nowhere to be found. They're just trying to weather it into the break at this point.
Well, you may have to pull out the record book, see what the top scoring game of points in this tournament, because the Blue Jays on a torrid pace.
Only 5 to shoot. Flynn might have to toss it up. I don't think he sees the shot clock. Does just get a release, and it's an air ball. And Creighton will have final shot in this opening half. And the Blue Jays have had plenty of threes, so if it's from distance, don't be surprised if it goes 10 of 15 in the half, Creighton. And Foster fouled on the dribble, Arebu, bailing him out, but it's okay. The Cougars, that's only their 4th foul of the half.
Yeah, foul to give. That was a good move by Ernie Kent. Foul on the drive, and now it forced the Blue Jays to take the ball out of bounds. And he still has another foul to give, so don't be surprised to see a foul on the catch.
And he brings in a couple of guys in Daniels and Franks that maybe could be the foulers. Of course, Franks as well, a little quicker at the feet to step out on those three-point shooters.
Well, Patton's got a chance for a lob here. He's got Franks fronting him.
Does get it. It's tipped, and Patton fouled. Count the bucket, chance for 3. And Patton, just as you said, dials it up, and that was a good read on the inbound.
Well, they fronted Patton. Of course, Creighton recognized it right away, and Ernie Kent, like, boy, nothing's going right. There's a over the top. Backside defender gets there late.
And Franks just turns around with his hands out in front of him, looking at his bench, like, what do I do? And he started out of position on that play from the very start.
Well, Deontay Daniels came over, but just at 6'2", going against Justin Patton at 7 foot. Patton kept the ball high and able to finish with the left hand.
Ronnie Harrell Jr. will see him for the first time now. And Patton misses the chance for the three-point play. Hawkinson's going to toss it at the buzzer. Good if it goes, and it's off the top of the bucket. And that'll do it for the first half of play here at the University of the Virgin Islands. And the Cougars, they've got some soul-searching to do in the locker room at the half.
You know, they really have to make some tough decisions here. And this, what you do as a coach at this point, Trevor, you talk about, hey, it's 0-0. We have to execute a game plan here in the last 20 minutes. Don't worry about the score. Try to get it back down to manageable numbers, but it's about execution, not being in a panic mode.
Creighton, they're at a lightning clip. 10 of 15 from three, 63% from the field, and even better from beyond the arc at 67%. We'll step aside at the half here at the University of the Virgin Islands. It's Creighton 60, Washington State 36, and the number 22 team in the land flying high tonight on Flow Hoops. And it starts with the defense, and Ernie Kent talked about the first thing that he looks at is the three-point shooting percentage, and the Cougars, they have not done a good job. That is Creighton's three-point shooting percentage at stopping that.
Well, we asked him, what's the stat you're going to look at to see if your team's going to be successful? So I'm going to look at the three-point percentage by Creighton. They are 10 of 15 in the first half. The Cougars have not been able to get in rotation and match up on the three-point shooters, but a lot of it's the great ball movement by Creighton to bring it from side to side, make the extra pass, get an open three, and they have just been sensational in that aspect in this game.
If you're Greg McDermott and that coaching staff, how excited are you at the potential? Obviously still a half to go, but you could be facing NC State, a team that you just watched earlier that only had 7 guys in rotation. Creighton's already used 12.
Well, NC State, a little bit shorthanded because they've got one player they left at home as they're doing some paperwork processing. The NCAA has ruled another player, Yurtseven, ineligible until December 15th, and then they have their three-point shooter out with a concussion. So it's a short bench. You've already seen Creighton go 12 deep, 3 games in 4 days. You got to have a bench if you're going to win the Paradise Jam.
Well, that would have been fun to see Yurtseven because he's another name in that hat for the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar trophy at the end of the year. And really, I mean, the bigs have been impressive in this tournament. We saw earlier today, Albert Owens had a good game. Wasn't quite enough as they were trying to take down Ole Miss, but there have been a lot of impressive performances across the board.
Well, and none bigger than the young man from Ole Miss that threw in the 41 points. That was just sensational.
Yeah, it was a very, very surreal performance. The best in the history of the tournament by points. The 41 put in earlier today for the star Ole Miss point guard. And carrying that team back, Kevin, I love, you talked about to me yesterday, no lead is safe with the three-point line because once they added that thing in, teams can just come roaring back. That's exactly what Ole Miss did. They were down by almost double digits with minutes left in that game.
Well, and they got the tempo going in their favor late in that game, but impressed by the way Old Dominion hung in there. We've had some good games. You know, Montana played well against NC State, and that's what these teams that come out of the mid-major conferences love about this tournament. It gives them a chance to play a team out of a Power 5 or a major conference like the Big East on a neutral floor, and a chance to make a little noise for yourself.
And Washington State, if the trend continues, tomorrow's matchup against Montana will not be an easy one because the Grizzlies looked very good at times against North Carolina State today.
Well, they are an excellent team, able to shoot the three ball. They've got 4 guys that have made over 42 threes last season, so they are a weapon from the perimeter, just as we're seeing the Blue Jays are today.
Cougars trying to see what they can do in the second half, and they're starting with Clifford, and he picks up right where he left off with that very beautiful hook.
Well, his patience in the post has been excellent. That time you see the Blue Jays fake the double. They just kind of dive and fake to try to keep him guessing, but Clifford has not been rattled at all by that defensive maneuver by the Jays.
Washington State showing some zone now. Clifford getting back down by Patton, a little fadeaway jumper. That's a nice move for Patton. He's got 6 now, and he's a cousin of a former Creighton big man, Donnie Johnson.
Donnie Johnson, Coach Kyrie Thomas at Benson High School in Omaha, so there was a real connection.
There's been connections all over this tournament. The coaching connections have been tremendous. Pass tipped out of bounds. Cougars will keep it. Ike Arebu will inbound for Washington State. Arebu's been pretty quiet with just 3 points.
When you talk about those coaching connections, NC State and Ole Miss came down the same charter. As Godfrey, good friends with the Ole Miss coach.
And Washington State and Montana ended up on the same commercial airline. So that would be a fun meeting for those two teams close to Northwest together if they play tomorrow in the second round. That would be here on Flow Hoops. 2 games tomorrow on Flow Hoops, 4:30 and 7 Atlantic time. Loyola and Oral Roberts, and Montana and the loser of this game. Clifford maybe going to go back to work. Watson giving him some trouble now. Back on Patton. There's the baby hook in the lane, and Connor Clifford has just been so good with that touch.
And you're wondering now if Creighton is going to think about doubling him, doing a hard double to get it out of Clifford's hands. But again, we're seeing trading some 2s for 3s, but got the lead down here to 22.
Well, his sister trains with the USA judo team, and Ernie Kent said for Connor Clifford, that's a reason why he thinks Clifford has such soft hands, because of that jiu-jitsu. Patton gets it left off, and he'll finish with 2 hands.
And who's dishing a dime?
Watson Jr. Now 669 on his college career. He's the active leader in the NCAA. And Clifford's going to have the advantage. Oh, just missed it off the glass. That would have put him 1 away from his career high. He's got 25 tonight. Foster a shot fake. Now he'll drive. Tries to leave to Patton. Arebu's waiting for it. He'll roll with Hawkinson. Back to Arebu. Off the window and in.
Well, that excellent play by Josh Hawkinson. He gets out ahead of Pack. Little shovel pass. Arebu will finish that one.
Don't sleep on Josh. The only Cougar with multiple assists tonight has 4 of them. And a foul. King gets a hand on Huff as he takes the shot. Huff has been tremendous as well for Creighton. 15 points, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc. This will be his second trip to the line. He's one of only 2 Blue Jays to step to the stripe this evening.
Well, Huff with a relatively quiet game against Wisconsin, but he started out very aggressive here in this contest against Washington State.
Has 16 now in the first made free throw, well above his 5-point per game average. Scored in double figures in 9 of the last 12 games, make it now 10 of 13, and a lane violation against Creighton. It was called against Kyrie Thomas. The Cougars take over down 23. Arebu goes to Hawkinson. He's just a little short of a 43rd career double-double. Pass tipped out. Blue Jays on the run. Foster, one more pass to Patton, and he finishes with authority.
Get off the tracks. The train was coming that time.
And then Ike Arebu, before the PA announcer can even finish calling Patton's name, he's finishing at the glass the other direction.
Washington State with a good turnaround. They came right back at it. And then Josh with some great set of mitts.
Flynn's going to try to dial up a 3-ball. Oh, is halfway home and won't go. Flynn is still without a point tonight.
Well, I just feel like Malachi Flynn's got to get one to go down and get his confidence up. Nice looking shot. In and out.
Huff now for another. Why not? Huff's 4th of the game, and he's got 19.
Well, that's another one Ernie Kent was concerned about. The pick and pop by the bigs. Huff has been able to do it effectively throughout this game.
Clifford. He's got a little range now. Going to pull it back from just inside 3. He's 1 shy of his career high.
Up.
And Watson Jr. going to kick back. Here's a straightaway 3. Dead on for Foster.
And this got a look of a shirts and skins game.
The 3-point shooting continues for Creighton. And they've made 4 of the last 4 field goals. That's been the story of the night. Arebu, the travel. And Creighton, they are rolling, and a big part of it is the finish of the freshman. How about this? Justin Patton for the Blue Jays.
Well, the tip loose. And look at the ability to share the ball. And that big man can run. He's called a meeting at the penthouse, and he's the first to arrive.
Patton helping lead the way for the Blue Jays. They're up big. We'll take a timeout on Flow Hoops. Come back with the Cougs and Jays after this. Back here, Greg McDermott. He's hiding back there somewhere, and he's got a lot to be happy about tonight for his number 22 Blue Jays. They got 73 points. They still got 15 minutes and change left in this one, Kevin.
But he's doing the same thing as Ernie Kent. You've got to keep coaching your team through this because you're looking for consistency. He's got an ability to develop that deep bench as he's gone to his bench now. With the only starter in here is Thomas for the Jays.
And a chance to get a bunch of new bodies in there. Joining the Jays on the floor, Zach Hansen, along with Isaiah Zierden, also Toby Hegner. And the fourth of those, Clement, who had a nice first half. That's Tyler Clement. Now backing down, Hansen working on Clifford, and he says, okay, Connor, show me your baby hook. I'll give one right back.
Well, we've seen that move time and time again by Zach Hansen. It's a little bang with that upper body and soft hook over the left shoulder.
And now Clifford's double team.
They've seen enough of Connor Clifford scoring.
Goes to KJ Langston, a new check-in for the Cougars from the elbow. Too much iron.
And that's what we talk about. Greg McDermott and Ernie Kent continue to coach throughout this game.
And Hansen beats Clifford, and he'll get a chance for the and one. Creighton had a body fall to the floor, backpedaling after the make.
Wagner took one in the chops. He got one in the nose and went down hard. Official there checking to make sure he's okay.
As Toby Hegner. You saw it. Was it anything intentional or just kind of incidental contact?
Well, he just caught an incidental and went down. But, the official is to make sure that that young man's okay before they start again. He caught one right the bottom of the nose. Zach Hansen, screen, dive to the front of the rim.
He's up to 8 points, and there's a bunch of Blue Jays threatening to get into double digits.
Well, what a luxury it is. Zach Hansen, 65% from the field.
Callison on the dribble, left his circle.
That was last season. Hansen gives you that wealth of experience to come in and spell Justin Patton.
A foul called against Creighton. It's on Hegner, his second. Creighton, though, they're going to get 4 to double digits, and they could end up with many more players in double figures. And it's Clifford fouled. That was an iffy play there. Hansen had it played pretty straight up, so did Hegner.
Well, Hegner came over for the double. And that was on Hegner as he came and created some body contact. But the Jays have seen enough of Connor Clifford one-on-one. They are going to double on his touches and make him kick it out. Challenge the Cougars to make some three-pointers.
Well, amazing to see that all the way up at 78 points. Arebu has the ball. Bounce one to Clifford. Now Franks, he wants to finish. Paris almost had the block. Will be called for the foul.
Well, again, we saw this is what Ernie Kent worked on with his team last year. The double team comes, the opposite post, cut to the front of the rim. Because he watched Wisconsin. They threw it out the weak side to three-point shooters. Creighton's able to scramble back and cover. The key, send that other postman to the front of the rim.
We talked about scoring records, and we have to start thinking about it in this tournament game. Creighton up to 78 points with 14 minutes left. Single game record's 105. That was Tennessee against East Carolina in 2009.
I'm going to make a prediction, Trevor. That was in danger of being broken today.
Franks misses his first. And then get this, the tournament record for total scoring throughout the 3 games, Wisconsin with 267 in 2012. Creighton's on pace. They could be halfway there tonight.
And that's surprising. Wisconsin is, noted more of a half-court offensive team, but Bo Ryan had a team to score some points.
For the Badgers, that was a game back, or tournament back in 2012, rather. Langston on the move for the Cougars now. And he tries to toss to Franks. There's total miscommunication. It's right to Paris.
That one he threw to no one in particular.
Clement fakes drives. He's alone to the basket, and he still gets past Clifford for two. And Clement, the crowd really likes him.
Well, he's got some excellent minutes. A backup point guard. You know, Reese Watson logs most of those minutes. But there's an opportunity for a young man to be ready when your number's called. Tyler Clement.
He was a guy just trying to get through the major financial analysis, and he wants to be the CEO of a company. He's been money tonight for the Blue Jays, and Clifford, there's his career high. And fitting that it was on another hook. 29 for Clifford, his new career best, and a travel up top.
Well, Creighton has been doubling with the other postman, but he was cleared out that time.
And now you might have to even throw Connor Clifford into the discussion. He might be trying to get in on that tournament record for individual points in a game.
Well, it was set 41 earlier today.
Before then, it was 40 for Lamont Jones of Iona in 2012. 2012, that was a good year in this tournament, boy. And Langston going to pop to the corner. Clifford showed some range earlier. We'll go to Franks now. He's a sophomore. They'd really like to get him shooting. Only 5 to go on the shot clock. Clifford comes up shy on a little in-between play. And the Blue Jays, they're not going to slow it down. They are a little more into a half-court offense now, up big.
Well, if you look now, they have 5 substitutes or non-starters in the game.
And Paris almost finishes with a slam. His Instagram followers would have loved that. And he won't get the putback either.
Well, obviously a fan favorite.
Most definitely. And now it's Callison's try for 3. And Callison cashes in on a triple. He's got 7, his first points of the second half, but as a senior guy, the Cougars would have liked to see do a little bit more. A nice shot fake by Zierden, and now he can't get a tray. Cougars going to slow it down and run the offense. They're going to try to set up Robert Franks. Franks for the Cougars was a 2-time AP All-State honorable mention in Washington. Langston tries a 3, and it rolls out. He's a guy down the line they like to see make up for Q Johnson, who transferred out after last season. And now both sides trading misses. Creighton, they haven't had a lot of that tonight, but all backups at this point and a foul on the drive.
We talked about DeAndre Burnett from Ole Miss setting the tournament record with 41. It could be in jeopardy here if we get Clifford a few more touches inside. He's got 29, 12 of 16 from the field, along with 5 free throws and 6 rebounds.
He's been having a great night. Creighton's just a little bit better. They lead by 29. We'll take a break on Flow Hoops and come back with more of the U.S. Virgin Islands Paradise Jam after this.
And over Oral Roberts, one of the best games played here thus far and maybe in a long time, but DeAndre Burnett, the transfer from Miami for Ole Miss with 41 points. He did it the easy way, hitting 9 triples. And we've got Connor trying to do it the hard way with 2s.
He's getting closer, 29 for him now. And yeah, he hasn't had a triple. A couple trips to the line in there. Could have made a couple more free throws. He'd be a little bit closer.
On Clifford, 12 of 16.
It's now Crumple who's come in for Creighton as well, and it's a triple for Zierden. Now 8 for Zierden. That's his second triple of the night, came in with 1 on the season, and a hand check foul called. Got Creighton's lead back to 30. Zierden picks up his second foul. For Ernie Kent, he's been to 6 NCAA tournaments, coached at St. Mary's, then Oregon. But Kevin, this season you feel like he's really got to show some improvement for Washington State in year 3.
Year 3 is the time you've got to get some more W's up there. He's got some experience. There's one experienced guy right there, Josh Hawkinson.
Hawkinson with 10 points now, and he's 3 rebounds shy of a double-double. Trying to get his 43rd.
We've seen Zierden knock in those threes. Now, Zierden started last year, had 70 triples for the Blue Jays. Now he's come off the bench.
And look at Paris get the bucket. He's got some fans right up in the front row. That is Hobie Paris with the finish.
And Hobie Paris originally committed to UCLA and had some issues getting into school, and Creighton able to pick up a very good recruit. Nice looking freshman, 6'6", 200 pounds, out of the Philippines.
Well, we should say part of his fame is because, as Greg McDermott put it, his dad is kind of like the MJ of the Philippines. That's something. Arebu now has 10 on his first free throw made.
That little 1-3-1 three-quarter court trap by the Cougars, trying to disrupt the flow here.
And all the way to the cylinder is Davion Mintz in his first bucket of the night.
Well, you can't let him split the gaps if you're going to spread your defense.
Mintz, a great example of the recruiting success that McDermott is having. Pollard, he's in for the first time for the Cougars. Another guy, a stretch 4, and a foul against Paris. But that recruiting has been big for Creighton, and we talked earlier about having guys come off the bench. That was because recruiting got so much better in the Big East for these Blue Jays.
They knew they had to upgrade, and they have a new facility, a practice facility that's just phenomenal, state-of-the-art. Court center, they have the locker room. That is, the new arms race in college basketball is your practice facilities. Academic rooms, weight rooms, computerized weight room for the Blue Jays.
There's a lane violation against Creighton. It's going to give Pollard another.
That last play, put Pollard at the free throw line, was made by Josh Hawkinson. Great basketball IQ, knew right where the open man was. He caught the ball in the high post, and Pollard ability here, a chance to get 2 points out of this.
He's got to 87-58 now. Ike Arebu will take a seat for the Cougars. Clifford's also on the bench getting a breather. And Pollard's next is good. Gets both of them 2 points for Pollard, the freshman from Bountiful, Utah. Paris with it. And Kyrie Thomas back in for Creighton as well.
That little matchup zone again by Washington State, and it turns into a man-to-man.
It's going to be popped to Paris. He's just short. And now an offensive called against Washington State, and it's going to be Pollard underneath, picking it up, trying to gain position.
Now, if you think back to the opener for Creighton, they had a huge lead over UMKC of the Kangaroos, and the Kangaroos came back, got that thing down to 9 as McDermott went to his bench. But now he's showing confidence. 9 minutes left. He's got 5 non-starters in the game. Give them another chance to prove themselves. 4 9-starters. You still have Thomas in.
And those guys likely learned from that UMKC matchup. Thomas pulls down the rebound off the 3.
We've seen some excellent play at the point guard position.
Creighton's now Mintz boards as well.
Now Mintz in there running the point.
And there's a lob up to Crumple. Couldn't finish it. Nearly taking the pass away right in front of us was Davion Mintz. And Mintz, a guy that Creighton can be really excited about. He had offers on the table from Tulsa, the Miami Hurricanes, and Kansas State. Callison will walk it into the front court. You have to wonder, though, almost, would Ernie Kent be done with Clifford tonight, trying to save some legs for tomorrow against Montana?
That's a good point, Trev.
Mintz going to step it back to Crumple. Now it's Paris again from distance. Didn't quite have it, but Crumple the long board. It's allowed Creighton to reset, and this is the biggest resemblance to a half-court offense we've seen for the Blue Jays. Mintz kicking it back. 3-ball foul underneath. Hegner tried the triple. Crumple was tossed to the deck. And that'll take us to a timeout. here at the Sports and Fitness Center of the University of the Virgin Islands. It's Creighton all over Washington State by 28. We'll be back with more on Flow Hoops after this. Back at St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, Blue Jays by 28. And Creighton, the schedule, it's a good non-conference schedule. Of course, they just stamped the signature win against Wisconsin earlier this week, 79-67. They left Omaha rocking when they boarded the plane to come down here to the Virgin Islands. And Kevin, this is a schedule designed to put Creighton in prime position for a good seed in the NCAA tournament.
And they've got NC State, if this thing goes as we think it's going to tomorrow or on Saturday night or Sunday night. You've got a game at Nebraska, a Big Ten test, and Creighton has owned that series with the Cornhuskers. And then at Arizona State, Bobby Hurley in his second year down there trying to build that program. They took a lump on the head from Northern Iowa, Greg McDermott's alma mater, in a game yesterday.
That's a game you called. You had that one.
No, that just happened down in Orlando.
I mean, you had them winning. I'm sorry.
Oh, I did make the call, yes. And then, of course, they open up. Big East play with Seton Hall and Villanova at home.
Yeah, never hurts to play in the Big East either. That's a good resume booster.
Well, that's a nice home opener. You get those two teams that are picked first and fourth in the league at home.
Crumple off target. These Blue Jay fans enjoying a nice nightcap here in St. Thomas. I bet they had a lot of fun in the sun today. Actually, it wasn't as sunny as we thought it would be outside. Pollard, too strong. And now Mintz trying to split a couple defenders, knifing to the hole, and he's fouled.
Yeah, this Creighton team scheduled to go on the snorkel trip tomorrow.
I've heard that's always a good time.
Well, and Teresa McDermott, Greg McDermott's wife, I met her in the lobby, and she said, sign me up. She couldn't wait.
I guess the guy that runs it, the goal is he's got to get everybody in the water. He wants everybody in the water. Some of the guys don't like that.
Well, Monica Jonigan, who runs the sideline reporting for us on the CBS Sportsnet, she goes on a couple of those trips, and she said those big 250-pound guys are scared to death to get in that water.
Crumple knocks one out of play. Big Pod is swatted out. I've heard that there's some turtles out there and stuff. The guys get freaked out. They've been already seeing the iguanas at the Marriott. Those were a big treat yesterday. Guys down there on Snapchat sending the videos to their friends. That was funny, too. There were 10-year-old girls going right up to the iguanas, and you'd see the group of the college basketball players, and if it would flinch, they would all move 10 feet away very quickly as Crumple hits from far more than 10 feet, a triple.
Well, I thought these iguanas were baby alligators the first time I saw them, but you got some fruit in your drink, they're going to come over and snap it right out.
And Callison, long iron. Now Paris quickly bowls into Pollard, and he's called for a block. Might have been just outside the restricted area, but still moving to his side. And there's a dejected Cougar bench right now. The assistant coaches and Ernie Kent looking on, trying to figure out what they're going to do about tomorrow's matchup with Montana.
Well, you've got to regroup. They had a tough trip down there. We talked about, they got in late, practiced late. We were there yesterday, so they got to get their legs back underneath them. And Montana will, some different challenges than they met with Creighton, because Montana wants to control pace. They're going to play a little bit slower. Well, Ernie Kent talked about getting his team defined and trying to play some up-tempo. So can they control tempo tomorrow against that Grizz team that wants to play half court?
And that really might let Connor Clifford enter the picture. Montana, they were susceptible to the big play. And if Clifford has a night tomorrow like he had tonight, could be an impact performer for the Cougars.
Well, you're going to have to hit some threes tomorrow night for the Cougars also, because they're going to use that pack line defense, the Montana Grizzlies, and challenge you to hit shots from outside.
Clement saves the ball that was almost out of play. Daniels tries to take it the other way. Now Franks is rejected, but it is on its way down, say the officials. But Franks had no idea that Mintz was flying in, and now slow to get up, a Blue Jay.
Well, I thought this ball was coming into our lap, but a nice save, but to the wrong team. And
hard to
excellent
tell from that
follow-up
angle.
by Franks.
Oh. How about Mintz rising up? He's all a 6'3", but he got up there. He's all right. Slow to get up as well was Ronnie Harrell Jr., the redshirt sophomore from Denver, but he's also up and moving. Creighton, they've had 13 more three-pointers than the Cougars. Crumple trying to hold off a defender underneath, and Callison taps it out of play. But a differential of 13 threes, you're not going to win many games with that margin.
Well, they started off just drilling those threes and got the Cougars back on their heels early off with a nice start.
Clement, he's been a fan favorite tonight as well. Couldn't hit. Creighton will reset with Mintz. Callison trying to get a hand in his face. Mintz with a fadeaway that hits side of the backboard. Daniels from just inside the three-point line comes up short. Kick to Franks, thought about a three, decides to reset the offense. And Callison running point for the Cougars. They've pretty much got an all-backup lineup in right now, too. Ernie Kent letting his youngsters get some reps.
Well, I think you made a good point. He's going to put Connor Clifford on the bench and save him for tomorrow night's game with a short turnaround.
And Frank's another one of those post players. Officials keen in on them this season, and he shuffled the feet. Frank's a guy that had 11 points against Arizona State last year, a career high. Has shooting potential and range, but he's yet to show it in game consistently for the Cougars.
And you got Josh Hawkinson, just 2 rebounds shy of another double-double, but he may not get back on the court.
The Cougars might be saving him for tomorrow as well with just over 4.5 left. Foul called against Washington State. They're raking. As Crumple tried to get into the lane. Callison was called for the foul.
Now Washington State just able to hit 1 3-ball, 1 of 6 from outside the arc. The Jays 14 of 25, 56%.
That's a percentage they like, and Crumple hits his first. And we kind of said a tough scouting night now for NC State. They're not going to learn a whole lot from the tape.
Well, they're going to go back and look at that Wisconsin game that Creighton played, learn some things from that. I already saw the staff get up and leave. NC State, they walked out about halftime. They'd seen all they needed. Going to go back and stick a little film in the hotel room and get their team prepped.
Deontay Daniels with his first bucket. Crumple going to work against Pollard. Pollard, Ken has said, is the Cougars' best post defender. And Crumple steps back on him and is able to hammer a 2.
Well, that's a tough shot to defend. Crumple with a nice little step back, able to finish.
He's another guy coming off an injury for Creighton. Had an ACL last Christmas. And Creighton, they are rolling tonight. They'll take us to immediate timeout. The Blue Jays by 31. Well, all smiles for these folks. They are enjoying it here in St. Thomas. And this is a huge crowd of fans that traveled to the U.S. Virgin Islands. And they've got so many fans. They've got their own ballroom in the hotel where Basketball Travelers Company putting on this tournament helps them put on pre-functions. That's when you know you've traveled well, when the tournament starts helping you out with all your events.
Well, they're certainly enjoying here the atmosphere inside the Virgin Islands Sport and Fitness Center, and even better weather outside.
Those youngsters have got it going on. And they got plenty of energy. They have not adjusted to the time change yet. Just after 11 o'clock local time right now. Charles Callison at the line. We'll have Greg McDermott, the head coach of the Blue Jays, with us after this one. Callison hits his first. And that's a coach, Creighton, they've just been so happy to have him. Former player at Northern Iowa, 36 in all-time scoring at that school, and just done a great job his first 6 seasons with Creighton.
Oh, he had a great coach when he was at Northern Iowa. That was an interesting story. When we took over that program, we had 4 players in our program, Greg McDermott being one, the coach now of Creighton, and the other one, Nick Nurse, who is on the bench for Toronto in the NBA. He's looked pretty smart.
It's been coaching connections galore. And I was so impressed yesterday at practice. You knew everybody.
Well, Darren DeVries on the staff there with Greg McDermott, the young man that I recruited out of Appleton Parkersburg High School. And came to Northern Iowa, just had a tremendous career.
I think that's been a testament throughout all the teams that we met with in their practices and their shoot-arounds. Their coaches are just tremendous, and that's from top to bottom in this tournament. There's not a team that doesn't just have a great personality, a great basketball mind at the top of the bench.
Well, what I enjoy is those practices, to watch how these coaches prepare and how to handle their team. And
fadeaway 3 for Jordan Scurry. Why not?
Yeah, Jordan Scurry. There's a big cheer from the Creighton faithful.
The freshman almost landed in his own bench, fading way back on the try.
And this is a struggle for Washington State, but a tremendous camaraderie and boost to the confidence of Creighton's bench, because those guys get some meaningful minutes.
Well, and I enjoy that you talked about for Creighton the last time they emptied the bench against UMKC and things kind of went wrong. They had to bring those starters back, and those guys had already tuned out at the end of the bench. Tonight, there's been no doubt McDermott has been able to stay with the guys he's put in, and the bench players, the starters, now the bench, they've really enjoyed watching those guys have success.
Well, Trevor, that's a learning experience from the game against Missouri, Kansas City, where they weren't quite ready to come in and hold that lead, made some mistakes. Now, Greg McDermott, to give them confidence again, and they've learned from that experience. And you see a smile on Coach McDermott's face right there as he's liking what he's seeing out of that bench. And this is going to be a long season. You've got to have guys that come in, maybe it's even for 5 or 6 minutes in a game that they have to produce for you. You got to learn who you can trust in those situations.
Well, this is a team that the deeper and deeper they get in their bench, the more and more dangerous they become, because they're already coming off the bench with 3 guys that McDermott has said are starters. Those are 3 starters coming off the bench. The more and more depth you get, it just makes this offense so good, especially with how fast they run.
And Greg McDermott talked about Creighton has been one of the leaders in defensive rebound percentage, and it's because of their ability to get out in the attack that we see teams send 4 guys back to stop their transition, which allows them to become a better rebounding team.
These fans are just loving it. That guy caught a little sun, a little pink there, but having a good time.
Got to use the sunscreen when you're in the Virgin Islands.
Callison goes to Franks, a little fake. Franks gets crumpled to go on by and then finishes.
Well, nice OB play, and Franks with good patience let the defender go by and finish. Or Ernie Kent, he's going to have a film session. It's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly. Unfortunately, probably more bad and ugly than good, but still teaching moments that he's going to find in this game.
And an air ball for Scurry. A lot of the good going to be littered with tape of Connor Clifford. He really went to work in the post tonight for the Cougars, finishing up with 29, assuming we don't get him back down the stretch. And they would love to see him do that in Pac-12 play, because a lot of times with their non-conference schedule, they don't get to use him against smaller lineups because he doesn't have the speed to stick with guys. Pollard to move in the lane for 2. Although in the first half tonight, we did see him expending a lot of energy and working really hard to keep up with Patton. He did a pretty nice job of it.
Well, as you talk about it, it's a large defeat by Washington State, but still there's a number of ways that they can learn from this game and improve, and they're going to get a different style of opponent with Montana tomorrow night. And that's the great thing about this tournament. You're going to see 3 different teams, 3 different styles of play. That's going to prepare you when you get into league play later on in the season.
And Ernie talked about that. This was a team that no matter the result tonight, they were going to feel a lot different tomorrow from just having a road trip and then a long flight, getting off, playing a game, having to come together and bond here in a place where it's only them and a couple fans that have traveled.
I used to like to take my teams on the road because it was that us against the world mentality, and You don't have anybody else, so you got to support one another. But a quick turnaround for Washington State. You're going to have to flush this one quickly and get your mind set on Montana Grizzlies.
Callison banks one home for his 12th point of the night on the triple. And Creighton's just one shy of the century mark.
You think the Blue Jay fans are going to erupt when that baby gets to 100?
It could be Harrell, and there it is. And they like that. It's at 101, and now they're just chasing the tournament record. And they don't have far to go, just 4 points off it. And when the Cougars keep dialing up quick shots, at least guarantees Creighton the possessions. And with the reserves in, they're not slowing it down much. They'll probably get 2 more shots up in this one. Mintz, they're going to say it was for 2. Didn't catch rim.
When I looked at the field for this Paradise Jam, I'm very impressed by the teams we had coming in, and we're going to see a number of records fall. We already have with DeAndre Burnett's 41 points.
And now Franks wants 3 from in front of his bench. And he kind of shook his head to the side when he finally made it and said it's about time. Washington State, they just really struggled from beyond the arc. Now 2 of 8. Creighton 15 of 27 and 56% shooting.
Yeah, Franks with 7 points. He's done a few good things here.
And with that turnover, Creighton unlikely to break the tournament record for points. Langston will kick to Callison. Franks is nearly double teamed, goes to Langston and rejected by Crumple. Shot clock is dead. Mintz on the run all the way to the glass. He'll lay it up for 2. And if one of those other buckets in those couple possessions could have gone, maybe the Blue Jays would have had it. We'll see if the Cougars hold it off and call off the Dogs to finish this. They'll run one more set play, get a look at something they can dial up in that film session. Langston, he's got a triple. And that's Langston's first bucket and his first points of the season. And that takes this one final for Creighton. Did they exceed your expectations, Kevin? I think we knew they were the juggernaut in this tournament. We knew they'd be fast, but their three-point shooting, granted the Cougars helped them out quite a bit with the lack of defense, their three-point shooting is tremendous.
Well, it got the Cougars back on their heels early, and they had to make some adjustments because of Huff coming off strong, and then Marcus Foster following that up. So Ernie Kent probably had to go away from his game plans somewhat, but we saw a great performance inside from Connor Clifford. He scored well.
And 14 different scorers for Creighton tonight. That's double the available roster that NC State had earlier today. That's who they're going to play tomorrow in round 2. We'll have Greg McDermott with us in just a second. We'll take a break on Flow Hoops, come back with the coach. Trevor Williams, Kevin Lehman, and the coach of the Creighton Bluejays, Greg McDermott, with us now here on Flow Hoops. Coach, your guys a big win tonight, 103-77 to open up the tournament. What are your thoughts, first of all, on that game?
Well, I thought our starters got us off to a good start, and then I thought we got good lift off the bench as well. Zach Hansen came in to did some good things. Toby Hagner comes in, hits a 3 off the bench, and Cole Huff is gradually getting back, into shape after that off-season knee surgery, and it's been a process, but he looked pretty good tonight.
Greg, what about Maurice Watson? Tell us what he means to this team. 13 assists tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think he's one of the best point guards in college basketball because he doesn't have to score to control the game. And anybody watching the game that understands basketball would be able to tell that this guy's the best player on the floor. And sometimes he doesn't take a shot. He's getting deep into the paint. He's putting pressure on those ball screens. He puts pressure on the rim in transition. And we're still developing. I think we've got a long ways that we can grow with this team, and that's really exciting. But when we get our pace going the way we want with the depth we have over there, I think we can really wear into some teams, and obviously it's going to be tested Sunday night.
Coach, for you guys, 14 different players scoring tonight, a lot of success, but what are some of the things that you could work on here moving forward into Game 2 of the tournament, things that you didn't like tonight that you'd like to improve upon?
Well, I'd like to get to the free throw line a little bit more and make them when we get there. And then, defensively, I thought when we got the lead, we lost our teeth a little bit on the defensive end of the floor, which is sometimes that's human nature. Their post player really had a game on us. But I kind of wanted to see what our young guy could do. And granted, he had some tough shots over top of him, and we decided not to bring the double team. And obviously, we've had that ready. We used it against Wisconsin, but you put yourself in such a tough position on that backside if you're doubling all the time. And we wanted to see if those guys could handle them. But it's great film for us to watch because we won the game. We can go back and look at the things they could have done different, maybe to keep it out of his hands.
Well, Coach, you played UMKC. Your bench came in. You had a big lead, and they gave it away. How much does this mean tonight that you had the confidence to play those guys down the stretch, and they kept that lead at 30?
They did a much better job, and I was disappointed in what they did against UMKC because they got they got into themselves. They didn't move the ball. They didn't play Creighton basketball, and I thought tonight we did a much better job of that. We got some great contributions off the bench in both halves. We used Davion and Kobe in the first half. Tyler Clement came in and gave us great minutes the first half. So I'm really pleased with where we're at. Everybody seems to be engaged, and obviously we've got some new guys that are learning, and there's a curve there. But Martin Krampel, has the ACL surgery last Christmas, and this was his first extended minutes since the knee injury last December. So it's good to get him out there, have him do some good things. The motivation that provides for the next practice is pretty invaluable.
And finally, Coach, how much fun to have that Creighton fan base behind you. Really well traveled here.
I'll tell you what, these people, they're incredible. I don't know if they don't have anything to do, if nobody's got a job or what, but our fan base, anybody that watched the game on TV Tuesday night against Wisconsin, the place was absolutely jumping. The enthusiasm and the environment in that building was second to none, and we probably have more fans here than the other 7 teams combined. So the fan base is incredible. They've supported us through thick and thin when we've had a couple years that weren't as good, and hopefully we can treat them to an exciting year this year.
Well, I ran into your beautiful wife Teresa in the lobby yesterday. She couldn't wait to go on that snorkel trip tomorrow.
I know. There may be some pressure on me to show up tomorrow. I'm not sure, but first things first, I got a little NC State film to watch.
All right, well, we got to get you out there in the water for sure, Coach. Congrats on the win.
Thanks, guys.
That was Greg McDermott with us here on Flow Hoops. A great win tonight for Creighton, 103-77 over Washington State. And they finish up round 1 of the Paradise Jam. And, Kevin, we talked about it. We said this could be a tournament that if the teams that were favored continue to go, it could be a chalk tournament. So far through round 1, all the favorites did come out on top.
Well, this is my 4th year here at the Paradise Jam, and we've always had an upset. I watched Florida State get beat last year by Hofstra. LSU got beat the year before. So it's happened, but this first round there, that St. Joseph's Loyola game I thought was probably a toss-up, and St. Joseph's came out there, and what a great game we had with Oral Roberts against Ole Miss going into overtime. NC State flexed their muscles down in Montana, really gave them a run. And Creighton, what a juggernaut they have offensively. Deep bench, we touched upon it with Coach McDermott. Their ability to shoot the 3-ball, and they may have one of the better guards in the country in Maurice Watson.
Well, it'll be a lot of fun tomorrow. We play on the losers side of the bracket here on Flow Sports, 4:30 and 7 o'clock Atlantic time. It starts with Loyola and Oral Roberts. Darren Goldwater of the CBS Sports team that you work with on television will be with us for that game. And then, Kevin, you'll be back for Washington State one more time. They'll take on the Montana Grizzlies at 7 p.m. You look at Oral Roberts, that's a team that's going to be hungry tomorrow after what happened late, and Scott Sutton's going to have them coming back looking like a different team tomorrow against Loyola.
Well, Oral Roberts has those big front line guys, and Loyola is a guard-oriented team with some new players inside. They were concerned about what the guards did to him from St. Joseph. That was Porter Mosier's concern going into that game. So he's got a different challenge in Oral Roberts with those bigs that Coach Sutton has.
And then we'll see Ernie Kent and the Cougs on a quick turnaround for Game 2 of the Paradise Jam. A lot of fun, Kevin, tonight. 103-77 for Creighton. My pleasure working with you.
Enjoyed it, Trev. Nice job.
Yeah, it'll be fun to get back at it tomorrow here on Flow Hoops. That's the Final Four. Our producer, Brad Gross, our technical director, Dane Hunter, fantastic Flow Hoops team. This is Trevor Williams wishing you a pleasant good night from St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands.